Howdy, howdy. Can't hear you. There we go.
I think you're friends with one of my guests today,
Oh, yeah?
Reverend Patricia.
Oh, yeah. You making the rounds, eh?
Well, their book just came out today.
Oh, good.
There's Jackie.
Yeah.
Looks like she's muted.
I am.
Patricia's
No.
Oh, sorry, start video. Hi again.
There's Patricia. Say hi, Cam.
Hi, Patricia.
Hi, Cameron.
Hi.
Should have one more, Cam.
Got her.
Should be here.
Yep, she's there.
Start video.
There she is.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta show Kat something. Hold on.
Okay. He's bringing out his frog.
No, I think he's gonna go get his Siamese cat.
Oh, is he? Oh, I locked Loki out. He's well named.
This is
Yeah.
Bandit.
Oh,
Oh,
Bambi.
he's
Bambi
a little
says no.
squirrely. He's only 6 months old and he is a riot.
How cute. I love
The
it.
cutest cat ever.
Wow, he does look like a bandit too. Those are great markings.
Oh, you should.
Yes.
The pictures I have of him as a real little kitten on my Facebook page. Oh my gosh, it'll melt your heart. He's pretty cool though.
Okay,
Everybody
bring
should
this-
have a kitten.
I agree. Yes. You'll
Hey,
never
so-
sleep alone.
Hey, so real quick, is there a way that, I know you said that this airs live, but it doesn't air live out to Facebook, right? Is there a way for us to help share it live, or do
Yeah,
we
it'll
share
be
it
on
later?
Facebook Live. If you go to Contact Talk Radio, you can create a watch party, or you can go to Life Mastery Radio Facebook page. It will be a Facebook Live there.
Yeah, just getting it going
And you
now,
can just share it. Yeah.
All right, I'm
start a
gonna
watch
go up
party.
to that. Yeah, I'm gonna do that right
And then
now.
I was telling Kat, it will be it'll be on our YouTube channel later on today or maybe tomorrow. It will be on iHeartRadio and Spreaker and many other venues. And you two are free to do with the content as you wish.
Perfect. Well, we'll definitely be sharing it. So I'm on Contact Talk right now. I see the
Yeah, it's not up yet. Just give it a second
okay.
because we haven't started yet.
Okay, perfect. And I'll just share as you guys do your intro. Perfect.
Yeah. That's the way it works.
Here it is.
Hmm.
Not yet. We'll be there in a minute.
How much time we got, Cam?
Got less than 30 seconds. Stand by.
Next time you download a show, take a second to leave your thoughts and rate it.
The views expressed on contacttalkradio.com are those of the guest hosts and callers, and not necessarily of this station, its management, or other advertisers.
This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Bing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Welcome to Life Mastery with Todd Allen, the talk radio show that dives into the science of higher consciousness. Join Todd and his guests weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and learn how to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. Enjoy a survey of inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. It's all right here. Leading authors, speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs with stories and messages to support your well-being, let alone your most evocative dreams.
Hey, it's another groovy day. And why is that, Todd? Well, that's because when I got up this morning, I decided to make it that way. There might be things that change during the day, but I'm starting out as a groovy person having a groovy day. And it's a double whammy because today's Life Mastery Radio Day, the talk show that brings you great thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. And we have a couple of guests for you today that have an amazing book. I think you're really going to like it. There's no telling where this discussion is going to go. Well, we're going to keep it focused, but as always, before I start the show, I really like to consciously get myself centered, and I invite you to do the same. And I like to start by just reaching way up high and stretching, maybe rolling those shoulders a little bit, and really consciously consider the connection you have that gives you power. It may be God, Allah, whatever it is that you believe in. Just consciously connect to it and make that conscious effort. Now let's take in a deep breath and let that breath out with a big and just let your essence flow up through your solar plexus, through your heart center, and right out of your speaker box out into the universe. Focusing on that connection. Let's do that one more time. I heard a big one. And this time, let those dreams, visions, and goals just flow right through you, out your speaker box, and out into the universe. And for sure, focus and concentrate on the universe, providing you the opportunity to make those come true for you. There we go. It's a great practice. And if you start your day with that, man, it just makes it so much groovier. This is the second time for me today. As always, I have my co-host with me today, and I'm going to start calling her Miss Jackie, because that's what her students call her. You can see her background there. That's her little schoolhouse, or her studio, as she likes to call it. And she is doing some amazing work with the youth in teaching them public speaking. Did I get it all right, Jackie?
Yeah, we actually started a new 8-week course this week. So I've got some classes starting and one ending, actually, that has started a little bit later than the rest. So busy week, and thinking about starting a nonprofit so that I can take these classes around the world and get to those kids who are less likely to be able to get this training in any other way.
So how's that work? I know you've been working on a deal in the Virgin Islands. So I was with you. You created this whole vision about being on a beach, being in the sunshine, and then it popped out of you. I'm going to take my classes to the Caribbean, and I'm going to spend the whole summer there. It was really cool, but this has progressed. I mean, this thing is coming into fruition.
Yeah, it's going to happen. It's definitely on the path. I'm talking to a director over there who has a nonprofit and gives these summer camps to kids. And they're not just kids from the islands, but they fly in from the States to go to these week-long camps, and they stay there in the dorms at the University of Virgin Islands. And they're going to let me come in, and they're going to do some classes with them. And they've also got me coming in the springtime to do some outreach in the public school system and talk to some kids there, and perhaps do some nonprofit work at that time as well. So I'm really excited about the opportunity. It's expanding.
Oh man. I'm getting chicken skin just listening to you talk about it, because it's so cool to see this kind of thing come into fruition, because it was your dream, it was your vision. This vision came to you and you shared it with a group of people, so I got a question, Jackie. Has it come easy, or has this been kind of something that you really had to work at?
Well, are you talking about life in general, or
no. Bringing this vision and this dream. I know life's kind of hard, and we're going to talk about that and why that is. But I mean, just this vision. It seemed to me, from my perspective, that this kind of just fell into place.
It has definitely come faster than I thought it would be. And it's amazing how it takes a simple connection with one person or the right person to start the ball rolling, and then you make a connection with somebody else, or another opportunity comes along. And I've learned by working with you, Todd, here on Life Mastery Radio, and by talking to so many amazing people that have been our guests, I've learned how to center myself a little bit more and actually listen to those guides, listen to listen to my own thoughts and give them credibility and act on them a little bit more than doubting that they'll ever actually happen. So I've been led to do some things I never thought I would do. And in that sense, it has come much easier than I would ever imagine. But it's been a long process to get to that point.
Oh my gosh, that just warms my heart. You have no idea. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. You know, Life Mastery Radio is all about bringing great thoughts and ideas for people to, you know, maybe have an understanding. We like to plant seeds, or, you know, mostly just for you to consider things and maybe make a different choice. And it has been amazing this year to watch Jackie grow and spread her wings and just take off. I'm not kidding you. From what Jackie and I have been friends for probably close to 11 years. And this last year, is it like a flower just opening up, Jackie? Am I right?
Yeah, I don't know if I would envision it that way, but it's definitely a clarity. Definitely the clouds have parted. I mean, we live in Seattle, so we have a lot of clouds, right? But my metaphor is more like looking for inspiration and having just clouds. But now it feels like those clouds have cleared and I can see the light a little bit easier.
I can see clearly now.
That's right.
I won't sing anymore. Okay, I think it's time to start our show. I do want to remind listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.net or .com. And you can find any links that we talk about today. Later on today, Jackie will create a blog post that highlights what we talked about on the show and what she came away with. And while you're there, if you're checking it out, sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter goes out once a week. It highlights who's been on the show, who's coming on the show, and Jackie puts a little blurb in there from her blog post. So it's kind of cool. And if you sign up, we just use that email address for that newsletter, nothing else. And we're pretty aware of that responsibility, I guess is what we would say. Oh, yeah. And while you're there, you can follow the link to my book. My book's pretty cool. I put my heart and soul into it. It's my story. And believe it or not, it's a lot of chaos to clarity.
Hey, that's interesting.
And today's
what a great title of
day.
a book. Wouldn't that be a great title to a book?
But it is pretty cool. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, I think we are ready to get on with the show. Our guests today, first off, we have two, is Reverend Patricia. You know what, Patricia? I should have asked you how to pronounce your last name. Say it for me real quick.
Cagganello.
Cagganello.
And she is the CEO and founder of Sacred Stories Media. And many of our guests on Life Mastery Radio have come from Sacred Stories Publishing, a conscious online media network. As an ordained interfaith, interspiritual minister, Patricia believes every story is a sacred story. This is so true. She is ordained from One Spirit Interfaith Seminary in New York. Welcome to the show, Patricia.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks, Jackie.
Yeah, welcome.
And then we have Kathleen O'Keefe Kanavos, and she is an accredited psychotherapy and special education teacher, and she taught psychology at USF Fort Myers branch, serving the severely emotionally handicapped for 10 years and heading the special education department. She was the head of that for 2 years before retiring. I can't imagine you retired yet, Kat. Wait, welcome to the show. How are you today, my friend?
Thank you. I'm doing great.
So you're not really retired, right? I can't imagine.
Well, I'm retired from that aspect of, but you know, type A personalities, I don't think they ever really retire. They just move into something else for a while.
Right.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show, both of you ladies. And Patricia, I kind of wanted to ask you a little bit about, you know, Sacred Stories Publishing and how that got started, what motivated you. I think you have some great authors and some great books. Where did that come? Did you always know that you were going to be a publisher, or did that evolve?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I had no idea until 3.5 years ago when when it started. It's an evolution actually, and I'm an author as well, and so and it is tied with many of the stories in our new book, Chaos to Clarity. It was a life event. It was a traumatic life event that kind of had me move through a very emotional journey and come out kind of on the other side of it. But through that, I've written 2 of my own books on my journey, and we had talked a little earlier about how the tie-in with the animals and so forth. And through my self-publishing and publishing process over the years, it just evolved, and I just knew that it would be great to have more opportunities for conscious books, conscious voices, more opportunities for authors to be able to share. So
namaste, my friend. I think we need more. I'm totally behind you and support whatever it is that you're doing, because I think that is really important. And there, for you to have that title, Sacred Stories Publishing, I think that is a real, what do I want to say, a real catcher, and really brings people into that awareness. Hey, this might be a place where I can find some really cool books.
Yeah.
Or I have a really cool book inside.
Story, right? Absolutely. Well, it's interesting because, and I think again, that's kind of that we talk about our shared humanity, and we talk about it in our books and in this new book, but it's in our stories that we connect. It's in our stories that I think we really teach and we really learn, and that's kind of where the genesis of the name came from, because through my journey, I realized that I also teach and learn through stories. And as you say, I believe every story is a sacred story. So
right. And Kat, this isn't yours. Hold up the book. You have a copy there. This is the book that Kat and Patricia. I got to get this right.
Kat and Pat, I know.
Never mind. And I know this is your second book. And so is this something that you do on a regular basis now? You're publishing books? So you have 2 books, right? Is that right?
I have 3 books. I have 3 books. Yes, I have Surviving Cancerland, which just, the audio just got bought by Blackstone Publishing, so they did the audio. Then I've got Dreams That Can Save Your Life, Early Warning Signs of Cancer and Other Diseases, that I wrote with Dr. Larry Burke from Duke University Medical. It's based on his dream research project for women who had dreams about their breast cancer, then went to the doctors, had those dreams validated by pathology reports. And then this is the 3rd book with Patricia, Chaos to Clarity. And in that book, I have a story about the dreams. It's called Dreaming Healing Again, because I did have recurrence. I've survived cancer 3 times now.
Wow. So tell us the story of how you and Patricia met. Have you guys been friends for a while, or did this just all of a sudden blossom into an idea and now you have this amazing book?
Well, we've never met except like this. We met through a mutual friend by email, and Patricia kept saying, I want to work with you. I want to do some online teaching classes and this and that. And I was so busy promoting the Dreams book with Dr. Larry Burke, I couldn't do anything. I was just focused on that. And then that book won the Nautilus Book Award. And I said, you know what? I can really do this. I can really promote the books. It was a #1. And so then Patricia and I started talking, and the next thing I knew, we had plans made to write a book together. And then Dr. Bernie Siegel wrote the foreword to Dreams That Can Save Your Life. And so Patricia said, do you think we can get him to write the foreword for this book? And I said, I don't know. Let me give him a call and find out. And
you called Dr. Bernie Siegel? You can just call him?
I can.
I want to be your friend.
No kidding.
Yeah.
He totally inspired my life so many years ago with Love, Medicine, and Miracles. I just explored that book completely and have referred to it so many times over the years. And that was the first question I was going to ask you is, how did you get Bernie Siegel to put your forward?
Yeah.
Wait,
Patricia's got him now. She's got him all tied up.
Bernie, actually, let me just shout out Bernie if you're watching.
Hey, Bernie.
I love you, Bern.
We do love Bernie. I just met him literally through this project, and now he has we've just signed him for his new book. He's written his own a story. Just a big preview. It's called 3 Men, 6 Lives, and that will be coming out. Sacred Stories Publishing will be publishing Dr. Bernie Siegel's very first novel. You know, he's written. It's a phenomenal story. But he's so funny, right, Kat? Because
Oh my gosh.
Kat called him to, ask him to write the foreword. He wrote a 14-page foreword for this book. And he's like, who writes a 14-page foreword? He's like, it just kept coming. And it's phenomenal. I can't count the number of people, honestly, that have emailed me or called me and said, Patricia, honestly, the book is phenomenal, but just the foreword by Dr. Bernie Siegel is worth the book. Like, I would buy the book just for his foreword. It is that phenomenal. He writes on loss, gain, and change.
Okay, Patricia, you and me are friends now too, because when that book comes out, we want to have him on Life Mastery Radio. I think that would be really cool. And we forgot to mention too that your book just came out today.
Yay!
It's November 19th,
It's the launch.
2019.
Launch. We're celebrating.
Congratulations, ladies. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And Bernie actually shared for the very first time ever in this book a poem that he wrote. And it was after the death of his wife, which is what he talks about in the book, how love never dies. There are signs and symbols to let you know they're always with you. So the poem is astounding.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's interesting, just to stay on Bernie just for one more minute, and then I know it's just, because it's interesting because people you mentioned come into your life, and even how did Kat and I meet, and there's just this connection, there's this connecting thread, and it's so fun, when people start coming together,
Showing up, right?
Showing up, and the book you're talking about is interesting because that came out in 1986, and I only know that because a story why I even know that, but I do know that, and that's the year I was discharged from the United States Marine Corps, and so to me that was about 3 lifetimes ago, and so literally last night Bernie signed the contract with us to publish his next book, and I was like, how funny is this, talking about these threads, and he is now 87 years old.
Wow.
And I said to him, I said, Bernie, like, this is great, we want to do this book, and there's some editing we need to do, and he's like, send me the notes, I'll get started. And I thought, God bless you, like 87 years old. And he said, whatever I can do to help, however I can serve. And
Nice.
I was
He
like,
is a great personable guy.
yes, God bless, honestly, God bless you. And I think that is the heart really of this book, and what comes through this book is it's a collection of 30 people from around the world, Dr. Bernie Siegel being one of them, who said, how can I show up? How can I share? What can I say that could inspire someone else?
Yeah,
And
I had the opportunity.
priceless.
I had the opportunity many years ago, before my Life Mastery Radio. I was a co-host on a show, and we did an interview with him, and I was just, he is a great, personable, just a regular Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a great
Well, we
guy.
have to get him on the show when his novel comes out, Todd.
Absolutely.
Totally.
And Patricia, Semper Fidelis, my friend.
Thank you.
I spent 10 years in the United States Marine Corps, 5 active and 5 inactive reserve, and had a blast. And I don't think I would be who I am today had I not done that.
Yeah, 6 years for me, 6 years active. So yeah.
What years were you active? Not to
Fi.
change the subject, but I'm just curious.
1980 to 1986.
We were in at the same time.
Oh, Todd, we're just kindred souls, my friend.
I spent
Do
2
I
years.
hear wedding bells?
Oh my gosh. I spent years in Okinawa, and the rest of my time mostly was in El Toro, California. I worked on airplanes.
We have to talk. I was in Iwakuni. I was in Barstow, wishing I was in El Toro. So we definitely have to talk. Let's connect.
Connections. It always
We're all
happens.
connected.
Well, speaking of that, so the book, we talked, we did a little bit of a pre-show, and to me, I brought up the comment that this is almost like a spiritual, and I'm not going to say it because I don't want to plagiarize it all, but it's a spiritual soup for the soul, right? So this is this is some really good soup for the soul. And you've got more and more comments. And Kat, I think you told me that you two really hadn't considered that, but yet here you are with this book and many, many stories. How did you connect with all of these authors? Oh, you know what, Patricia, maybe you should explain to us what the book's about, because I don't think we've talked about that yet. You have a collection of many authors and many stories about chaos. Maybe explain that to us just a little.
Yeah, so how this really came about was, again, Kat and I just kind of talking, and you know, we're talking about this connection, this thread, and we're talking about our stories, and you know, everything really is our stories. I think that's what everybody loves anyway. And so we just said, you know, this world, as Kat said, is in such change. There's so much change going on, and everybody experiences change. And so what if we just put a call out, just send out emails, put it on the website, asking people for their stories of a significant change in their lives, the change, the journey, and the positive perspective or outcome afterwards. The hero or heroine's journey, that's literally really all we asked for.
It's a big
and we
buzzword.
said, let's just see what we get. And it has been such an unbelievable process and evolution. We really didn't know. We didn't have a title. We didn't have, honestly, Pat, I was clueless through probably 3/4 of this process until it was like, wow, like this is unbelievable. It's like spirit literally just moves through it. And the stories we received, I mean, they're vetted. We didn't choose all of them. You know, we were really picky in the sense of that we really wanted it to be something that was a significant change, the hero or heroine's journey. And the stories that came, just Kat will tell you, just kind of blew us out of the water. I mean, we have stories from people from around the world, men and women, and they talk about, you know, again, our shared humanity. They talk about battling life-threatening illness, abusive relationships, overcoming addiction, losing loved ones, losing parents, losing children, losing love, finding love, everything you could possibly think of. And we were so amazed because of the commonality, the shared heart. We really do have one heart. It really is one heart, one world. And when men and women from around the world share the experience, and you can see yourself in it and you can relate to the emotion of it, I mean, it's so incredibly powerful. And so that's really the heart of this book. And so it's a compilation or of all of these stories. But more than that, Kat and I were like, but wait, like there's more to it, because it's more than just the story. So what is the voice? Why should me, Patricia Cagganello, and Kat Kanavos, why should we write this book? What is this about it?
You've been chosen.
We're the chosen ones. No, we kept saying, well, what's our voice? Like, we really wanted this to be authentic. It was very important to me to be like, it has to feel authentic. I can't just do something just because I think I'm going to sell some books. And then we said, well, who are we? You know, what are we all about? And that's where the spirituality of change, that's who I am. And the way I look at things is with a spiritual lens. And Kat, through her background in psychology, really looks at things from a psychological perspective. And so that also threads through the book, both of our kind of voices, and then kind of overarched completely by Dr. Bernie Siegel, who does both of it in the book, really pulled together. And we think it's pretty special. We really do. And we're excited about it.
Wonderful. Go for it, Jack. I've been hogging the airwaves. I'm just so excited to have these two on the show, and I think it's such a great idea. I didn't even realize that I was. Well,
so Kat, share with us one of the stories that most touched you that you've included in the book.
Well, one of them that I just, you know, a lot of these stories, they would make us cry, and they would make us laugh. Patricia certainly made me laugh when she went to learn to dance again, to connect with her inner ballerina, as it were, because she had been bullied when she was little or younger, you know, a teenager, and she went to a dance and everybody was laughing at her. And so she stopped dancing. She wouldn't dance anymore. So she goes to this like event that there was a call out for it, come and dance with us over the weekend. And she goes, and she's very nervous about doing this, but she drives up, she walks up, and she sees sees this beautiful little pair of red shoes in the hallway. And she's going, those are so dainty. They're so beautiful. And then she looks down at her size 10 flip-flops and she goes, I can't go in there. I can't take these flip-flops off and go in there. Who owns these little red shoes? And she ends up dancing with little red shoes. And it rebuilds her inner self. And so she ends up telling the reader, dance, just dance, close your eyes, let go, connect with your inner self and just dance. And then another story that just kind of tore my heart out to a degree, built it all back together and put it back in as a renewed love, was the story with Helen Brennan, where her child was stillborn. And rather than letting it destroy her, she took the baby and wrapped it, and she and her husband took it all through their town and showed the baby what it would have grown up in had it lived. And the baby, when it was born and put into her arms, one of its little hands was on its heart and the other little hand was pointing to its ear. And she said, he's telling me to listen to my heart. And that's exactly what she did. She didn't listen to all of the people who were telling her what to do and what to feel. And she went home, and her herd of horses realized what had happened. And they took her in and made her one of their mares, and they healed her. And that's what started her foundation. And one of the threads that runs through this whole book, Jackie, and we did not put this in as a stipulation. We weren't even aware of it. Like I said, this book really took on a life of its own, is this thread that weaves all through the book, where everybody that was writing their story went out during their deepest time of chaos and darkest hour, and they found a way to help others. Helen started her foundation. Is it a foundation, Patricia?
It's a horse sanctuary. It's called the Haven.
And yes, and everybody in that book went out immediately and thought, you know what? I'm not going to sit here in my grief. I'm going to reach down, grab somebody else, pull them up, and we're going to go through this together. And we never asked for that in the book. It just happened.
That is so cool. I mean, you guys, yeah.
Well, that's actually the best way to heal, right? I mean, my experience has been that when I'm at my lowest point, the only way to get out of that funk is to go do something for somebody else. Because you can wallow in your own self-pity and the tragedy that you might be experiencing, but you've got to leave that behind and just go help someone who's less fortunate than you are. And that's the only way to get out of that funk for me. So I'm so glad to know that your book has that element in it throughout, that because that's a great lesson that we all need to learn, right?
Yeah. It's really inspiring. And I think the biggest thing is that it's really hopeful, because I mean, I don't think any of us can deny that today. I mean, the world is an incredibly beautiful place, and it's filled with beautiful, beautiful people, but we are swimming through confusion and despair and chaos. And, I mean, there's a lot happening in today's world, and a lot of people, could use support, could use connection. And I think, again, just to go back to the idea of the stories, that is our connection. So it doesn't matter if we're men or women or where we live in the world or our age or anything. Our stories, our experiences, our emotions that we feel, they're universal. And that's what brings us together.
Patricia, that is a great statement. Let's drill down in that just a little bit, because I hear people make comments all the time that, oh, but I don't have a story. I haven't lived that major traumatic experience that I can speak from. But I always try to somehow relate to them that, no, that's not necessarily true. And it almost seems like we all have to have these chaotic things happen to us to get us to wake up, but that's really not true, right?
it's interesting because, again, I write on the spirituality of change, and in there I use one of the quotes that have come to me through my journey, and that is, in the experience is the emotion, and in the emotion is the gift. And
Yeah, I
Todd,
did read that.
to your point, a lot of this is happening through trauma, but I would offer that it's happening through trauma only because we need our attention, right? We need something to stop us in our tracks because we're so busy doing life, right? We're doing life. It's great. It's fine. We're doing it. And until something stops us and we feel a deep emotion around it, right? And that could be an illness. That's what many people say they are, recovering from their illness is one of the best things that ever happened, the illness that brought them to a new way of looking at life. So I think it's really just about what is our trigger or what is the way to catch our attention. But it happens through joy. I mean, it happens through the birth of our children. It happens through falling in love. I mean, it could happen through joyful experiences as well. I think what I would say to people when they say that they don't have a story is that, they are the story. Their life is their story. And I think if we can just dial it back just a little bit and be more conscious of even what you were doing at the beginning of the show, being conscious of how we're showing up, being conscious of our connection, being conscious of our life. We really do all have beautiful stories, and hopefully, we will go to the tipping point of the life-changing events being all joyful ones and
Right.
less trauma ones.
Right.
So, Patricia, what's one of the stories in the book that you were able to gather from our brothers or sisters that has the most connection to you?
Yeah. Well, I don't know in the sense of a connection, that is my favorite, but I'll tell you the one that I feel is, well, they're all pretty incredible. I know, they just
They're
are.
all
I mean,
her
they
favorite.
are. They really are. It
The
is.
book
I mean, you can't tell you how many times they come in and I'd be like, Kat, did you read this one? Kat, go get your email. Read this email.
Cool.
No, they're really that great. But you know what it is? It's the rawness. It's the vulnerability. It's people really showed up. They left their ego at the door and they just told their stories, just flat out. This is what happened. This is how I felt. It sucked. And this is how I got through it, and really, truly, there's one, somebody actually that Kat knows that brought the book. I've never met her personally yet, but her story was one of her being married to a man who had an alcohol and drug problem. And when she was at the wedding, knowing all the signs were there that she should have run out of the church, just turned around and ran out of the church. But she turned around and she saw her father all dressed up and her mother-in-law all dressed up and all this stuff. And she didn't have the heart. And she knew at the moment that she said, I do. She said, I sold my soul for a wedding band. And then it just got worse. It got worse. And the alcohol and the drugs turned into physical abuse. It affected their one child. And it was a number of years. And it wasn't until she said that she realized that she wasn't meant to live an inconsequential life. And where she started to fear not only for her physical safety, but for the safety of her son, that she was able to reach out and get the support and have the courage to actually leave that relationship. And I love that story's in the book. And I love it not because I'm happy that it happened to this woman, but I know there's other women and other men out there who are in this situation.
Yeah.
And so when they can pick up a book and read somebody else's story, then they know they're not alone. They know that then there's some hope for them.
I was going to say that exact same word. It gives them some hope. It gives them, hey, if this person could do that. I think, Kat, and being a psychologist, I think we all tend to live in our head and think that it's only happening to us, right? Or that nobody else has ever felt this experience, or that I'm the only one in the world, and so I'm just going to keep it all inside. And the power comes from reading somebody else's experience and sharing our own story.
Right. There's a little bit of denial in it, and also fear and shame. You know, you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't want anybody to know I'm going through this because I'm ashamed. I put myself in this position. But we all do things that we do at the time we do them. And gosh, we've got a whole section in the book called, you know, love, crazy little thing called love. And she was in love with her husband. It just so happened that her husband was in love with his bottle. And the family came second, and it got worse and worse and worse. But you know, change is frightening, which brings us to one of the big messages in the book. As human beings, we don't really like change. We don't like to be in a situation where we don't know what the outcome is going to be. We like our patterns because we know how it's going to end. So in order for many of the authors in this book to create the change that they needed to have in order to live, they had to trust in a higher power, whatever that power was, and dare to take a walk in the dark toward the light at the end of the tunnel. And that's what they did. And that was very powerful because it was frightening. You know, change is one of our number one phobias. From the time we were in caves, now we've gone from caves to smart homes.
We still have caves though, right?
Well, yeah, I love my little cave area right here, but change is frightening. And so what we're showing with this book is change. Although it may be frightening, it's good. And without change, there's no hope.
Right.
And every single story in the book, no matter how horrid that story was, they all ended in the light. And we made sure that happened. We did not have a single story in the book that did not end in the light, have a happy ending. And the author that wrote the story led by example. There was no teaching. There was no overt teaching. It was all follow me. This is how I did it. Read what I did.
Right. I want to remind our listeners that you are tuned into Life Mastery Radio, and you can find our website at lifemasteryradio.net. Our guests today are Reverend Patricia. Oh my gosh, I got to do it again. Quick, bail me out, Patricia.
Cagganello.
Cagganello. There we go. Patricia Cagganello and Kathleen O'Keefe Kanavos. And their book, both of them could probably hold it up, is Chaos to Clarity. I'm so embarrassed right now. Sacred Stories of Transformational Change. And this is what I found. This was sent to me about this book, and I just wanted to share it with you because I think it was so poignant. This outstanding book contains everything a reader could want. Emotionally gripping, encouraging, hope-filled, powerful writing, engaging personal stories, so much packed into it. Pain is part of the human experience that we can all relate to. But finding hope and healing through the pain, that is a precious gem that this book uncovers. A must read. And that was written by Pamela Cagganello, and she is a literary reviewer and editor. So, ladies, and one of you can just jump right in. What do you say to people? Because I hear this a lot too. Oh my gosh, I could never put my story out there. I could never. It'd be so embarrassing. I get that from people that say, Todd, how could you write about all that stuff about you? Isn't that embarrassing? Isn't that hard to do? And no, it really wasn't, because I was being vulnerable. I was being honest and upfront and talking about my journey. So I guess my question is, what would you say to somebody that says that?
Well, I think I would, from a psychological point of view or a psychology point of view, I would say it's cathartic. You know, dare to go within and meet your inner self.
Yeah.
The one that is crying, and to give that inner self a hand up and know that when you're in a book like this with us, you're family. You are not alone, and we are going to embrace you every step of the way. We have a woman in here who wrote a story. She had never, ever written this story before. She had never, ever bared her heart to when her daughter was found dead in her bed. And she said, this is the first time I've ever written this. I feel so much better now. But we can't get her on interviews yet because I think it's still too soon. And I don't think that she could handle it. She would break down. I would be afraid to break it down. Right. So, but it's very cathartic. And throughout the book, Patricia looks at these stories from the spiritual point of view, and then I look at them from the psychology point of view. We pull those together and we comment at the end of every section.
I didn't notice that. Yeah, that's very cool.
Nice.
Patricia, what would you say to somebody?
I'd say it's fine. I'd say it's fine. I'd say wherever you are and whatever point in your process you are, that it's exactly perfect for you. And you know, sometimes, as Kat said, it can be very cathartic to write our stories. And, you know, maybe you just write it for yourself. You know, that's the power of journaling. And I think the biggest thing that I would want everyone to know, as Kat said, you know, you are not alone. And even if you can just join us by, you know, showing up and reading the other stories and receive what you need from that, I think that that's great. But I think that it's really personal. You know, it's really personal. And I think that sometimes in life, everybody's telling us what we should do and how we should do something. And I'm going to offer, you know, that just do what feels right to you. But if you'd like to join us and read some other people and join us from that way, then, you know, as Kat said, you're not alone. We're here for you. And there is a way through whatever.
You know, when Kat was describing that, I got this vision of, oh my gosh, a family reunion from chaos to clarity. All these but it's almost as if, ladies, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're creating you're this little community of people that now have a connection and can connect to other people.
Mm-hmm. We do. And, you know, Patricia will attest to this. When we sent the book to the professional editors, I mean, Patricia and I did a lot of editing. Oh my gosh, that's a whole nother story. Yeah. But we really, really wanted to make sure that every story held the voice of the person who wrote it. We did not want that voice taken away no matter what. But the editors would send us emails and say, I'm going to get back to the editing as soon as I stop crying. Oh. And then they would email us and say, oh, everything's okay, fine. No, now I'm laughing. The ending was so, you know, funny, and it was so uplifting. So cool. But yeah, the poor editors couldn't get through the book.
Oh.
You know, it's interesting, though, to speak to that point just for a minute, because that is really what's happening, Todd. You know, it's so interesting. I mean, I think there's a lot of compilation book type books out there, and I'm sure they're all wonderful in their way. But I think when people come together through their personal stories, really digging deep and sharing the significant events in their lives, you know, it creates a bonding, it creates a community, and I do believe that is happening among our authors. I mean, they're all reaching out to each other, and even across social media and stuff, you know, they're all friends now and commenting and connecting, and it's really beautiful. It really is. And I think it's that shared experience. It is, you know, to Jackie, what you were saying, you know, we talk about the heart of our shared humanity. That's really what I feel like we're able to capture, you know, in this book, and that energy is really just kind of resonating out, and it's beautiful. I mean, I think it's why we're here. I know it's one of the reasons I get out of bed in the morning, is to say, how can we help make this a better place for everyone to
Kat, is that what you would call the butterfly effect?
You know, you were just reading my mind. Honestly, you were, Jackie. Oh my gosh. It's a little scary. I think that means you're family now.
Oh, good. Yay.
I'm waiting for Todd's cat to jump up there now and go, yes, you're right. So, yes, the butterfly effect, and Patricia and I talked about that a lot. You know, with the butterfly effect, for your listeners who may not know exactly what it is, there's the concept or the theory. It's part of chaos theory, which is more mathematical, but the spiritual and psychological theory is when a butterfly flaps its wings right here in this studio right now, it can be felt all the way across to China, because we're all connected through universal oneness. Right. And that's one of the points in the book. The whole world right now is going through chaos, and we're picking it up and we're feeling it. So by writing this book with these incredible stories, the sacred stories of transformational change, that transformational change is the the butterfly coming out of its chrysalis, being this beautiful creature, flapping those wings, and have that carry to somebody else who's not yet come into their own with their journey,
Yeah.
and have that be the wind beneath their wings.
Right.
Cool. Now you have several different sections in your book. You've got love and relationships, health and wellness, grief and loss, and life journey and identity. Those are pretty powerful phases in life that eventually we're all going to go through. And Kat, I think you mentioned before the show that there was a story in there about a woman who had a relationship with her turtle, right?
Oh, right. We got to do
Yeah,
the
I got to hear that story because I'm a tortoise lady.
Oh, you
tortoise mama.
There's those weird cat ladies, but I'm a tortoise lady.
Yes.
Wait, we got to preface this. She got this tortoise when it was like that big, and now it's
a
like
hatchling. Yeah.
that big.
No,
She's
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 that.
Oh, she's
yeah.
huge now.
Ellie
That big.
Jr. is quite large. I saw Ellie Jr. Ellie Jr. ruled the house from her tank. She ruled the house. She ruled the cats. She certainly ruled Ellie Sr. And I met Ellie Jr., so I knew how devastated Ellie Pichette was when Ellie Jr. Got loose. Ellie would let Ellie Jr. loose in the house with the cats because Ellie Jr. liked to play with the cats.
Wow.
And Ellie Sr. had a conference call, and she put Ellie Jr. in the backyard that was fenced in, but it had been raining a lot. And somehow that little stinker, Ellie Jr., got out into the woods, into the deep, dark woods, and she got washed away in a river that was back there. And Ellie Sr. went in search of her, and Ellie Sr. was so upset because she'd had Ellie Jr. for 30 years.
Wow.
Broke out in shingles.
Oh.
She was so upset, but she did find her. And I'm not going to ruin the story by telling you the happy ending, but there is an incredible happy ending.
Yeah, a connection. I'm sure.
Wow.
I'm sure it's a connection.
And it's
Beats
not
my
the
attention.
ending you may think. So
Wow.
I don't think any of the endings are what we think when we're reading
Yeah.
the stories.
So what's the title of that particular story in the book?
The Day I Lost My Beloved Companion.
Okay.
But you know what I loved about that story, and I'm an animal person for sure, and there are a couple animal stories in the book. There's all kinds of stories, but what I loved about the story was Ellie Pichette, who wrote the story, really brings forward the consciousness.
We had her on the show.
Yeah, she's been a guest on the show.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh, let the circle be unbroken.
So
But we didn't hear this story.
Yeah,
Okay.
we didn't hear the story.
All right, well, see, you might have to have her back. Ellie, the idea of really the sentient beings that animals are, and all animals. So we have the horse consciousness, which are, as close to my heart as you can get, and we mentioned cats, dogs, etc. But the consciousness of all types of animals, all species of animals. And so when Ellie submitted her story, and it was about her turtle, it wasn't her cat or dog or horse that you would think, I was like, yes, this is a whole other layer, a whole other level of really speaking to relationships, right? And that's what this book is about. It's about relationships. And so it's a phenomenal story in the book. It's about Ellie Jr., the turtle.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, we talked a little bit. Your story in the book, Patricia, is one that really connected with me because animals are just part of my life and I connect with them. And your story goes, you're contemplating something and this deer shows up and is prominent in your field of vision and clearly has a message. And it's almost like animals perceive, what do I want to say, this distraughtness or this low energy vibration, and they come into view or into the area to raise it.
I like that idea. I never really kind of framed it like that before, Todd, but I think it's absolutely true. And I think to what Kat was saying before as well, just even the universal oneness. I mean, it's the relationship. We are in relationship with all there is, and that I believe, and the animals being a large part of that.
Totally.
And I hadn't really think about this before in relation to the book, but I think that that's another beautiful component, because I think we have 4 or 5 stories that animals figure prominently in the stories in the book. Yeah, in a variety of different ways. And so, and it is that relationship. So whether we are in relationship with other humans or animals, or really, I guess, whatever we want to be in relationship with, it's that connection is really the connection, right? And
I gotta say, I am totally blown away. I scan Facebook every once in a while because people have some really cool stories, and there's some memes and stuff that's really cool. But I am totally blown away by some of these videos that I see of unlikely friends.
Oh, right.
Right? Total unlikely friends, like this dog that is definitely in elder years and yet has taken a kitten into its friendship. I mean, it's like, or a goose and a donkey, or, all of these things. And it just shows you that, we talked about it before the show, these animals, they're sentient beings, and they have knowledge that they tap into that is way beyond anything that I think we're aware of. We probably have that ability, but it blows me away.
Mm-hmm. Can I just take 1 minute, because saying that Helen, who wrote this story, Kat had talked about it, and she has the Haven, the horse sanctuary.
Right.
I've been there, and I have worked with the horses, and they at times they're regular horses and regular horse consciousness, but then they tap in on an energetic level that is at something I've never seen, experienced before.
Right.
And in an entire show we could do on the consciousness these horses are holding. But what's really fascinating when you're saying that, there's also a little donkey at the Haven. He's a rescue donkey, and his name is Red. And Red has been severely abused, and through the love and through not only of Helen and her family, but the herd, the horses have kind of taken the donkey into their herd. Red has started doing the consciousness work of the horses. And I saw it when I was first there, and we're like, Red went into a completely altered state. Everything changes, and he was tuned into the energy. And since then, he's a big participant when people come to the Haven and the horses are doing the energy work with the humans. Red is right there. The donkey is part of the herd doing the work as well. And so, yes, I would say that all animals, humans as well, we have the ability to hold a much higher consciousness than we may be aware of.
Well, you could take that to the next level too, Patricia, and just say, look, everything that comes into this world has a purpose. Right? It's just a matter of figuring that out. Oh my goodness, ladies, it looks like we just have about a minute left. I want to thank you both. This show just flew by. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I'm going to take you up on it, Patricia, and bring you back, because I think there is so much more that we could talk about. And same with you, Kat. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Todd and Jackie. It's been a great day.
Did you guys have fun?
Yes, it was wonderful.
We did our job.
But we didn't get to talk about your frog. When we come back, we got to talk about
that one right
frog.
up there. Can you see the frog? He's watching over me.
I can.
Frogs. The acronym for frog is fully rely on God.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Where is it? Maybe I can get it in the picture. Oh, I can't. There it is. Fully.
Okay. Yeah, that looks like a show to me.
Thanks again, ladies. We are totally out of time. I hope you enjoyed yourself. And for those that are listening, I hope you enjoyed the show. We talked about some really great things. And I just asked, tell a friend about us. Jackie and I really put forth an effort, and we just like to bring you great thoughts and ideas for you to use on your very own life mastery journey. And lastly, all I can say is please make it a great day, because it is all about choice. And please choose to read these ladies' book. You'll find it in Amazon, and it is a Kindle. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.